Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Government blasts critics over its handling of the country's crime problem. Be cautious. PM issues warning following a rise in COVID-19 infections. And later, in sports, Reggae Boy tests positive for COVID-19. I'm Giovanni Dennis, and here are the details. We begin with news that Jamaica has recorded another decline in growth in the economy. Speaking at a press briefing this morning, Director General of the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Carol Coy, said the decline for January to March quarter was 6.7%. She noted that the goods-producing industry recorded positive growth. However, the GDP was overwhelmed by a decline in the services industry, which recorded a whopping negative 9.9%. We'll have details in Primetime News.
The main contributors to the decline were hotels and restaurants, which fell by 55.9%, the other services industries, which fell by 21.9%, wholesale and retail trade, repairs, installation of machinery and equipment, which fell by 5.1%, and the transport, storage, and communication industry, which fell by 7.8%.
And you were just hearing the voice of Carol Coy, the Director General of the Statistical Institute of Jamaica. And of course, we'll have more on that press briefing in Primetime News at 7. To other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is blasting people who continue to criticize the government over its handling of the country's crime problem. Data from the police show that murders so far this year have increased when compared to the corresponding period last year. O'Shane Masters has more.
The Andrew Holness administration has been chastised by the opposition for not disclosing the plan to reduce murders and shootings. Data from the Jamaica Constabulary Force up to July 10 show there were 743 murders compared to 715 in the corresponding period for 2020. But Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the force is not about putting a band-aid on crime. He says a knee-jerk reaction to a flare-up in murders has not worked and will not work if there is to be any substantial reduction in the country's murder figures.
But the government also has to invest in long-term measures. There will be no political benefits for those long-term measures. But nonetheless, we will have to do it.
It's why he says people can continue to criticize his administration for what they term a lack of direction in the reduction of crime across the island.
We will get the criticisms, Commissioner. They will pick on us every day. It is our job to be picked on. You will hear all kinds of things being said, half of which are not true, not researched. But I am certain, Commissioner, that we will maintain the political capital to stay the course, to see the benefits of making these long-term investments, which may not have the short-term results.
In the meantime, Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says he's looking at getting over 200 members to create a specialized team to respond to crime within St. James. This as the parish continues to record a high number of murders. According to the JCF's crime statistics, 85 murders have been committed in the parish this year compared to 63 last year.
Similar to what persons saw probably on social media at Oaklands the other day, or SWAT teams, etc. Here in St. James, that can respond very rapidly to evolving, emerging situations or ongoing situations, and locating them up in Montego Hills.
Both Major General Anderson and Prime Minister Andrew Holness were speaking at the opening of the newly constructed Mount Salem Police Station on Wednesday. The facility was built by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, at a cost of approximately $45 million with funding from the European Union. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And still on that event with the Prime Minister, a warning to people who continue to breach the measures aimed at preventing the spread of COVID-19. Mr. Holness insists that if breaches do not stop, then there will be consequences.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness is raising alarm following a spike in COVID-19 cases across the island. It comes following the reopening of the entertainment sector and the further relaxation of COVID-19 containment measures since July 1.
We are watching the figures keenly. I received a report from the Ministry of Health at Cabinet on Monday. The Chief Medical Officer pointed out that there is a slight uptick in the infection, the positivity rates and the hospitalizations. We are watching it very carefully.
Mr. Holness says as a country, focus must be given to the preventative measures such as mask wearing and sanitizing, especially due to the low rate of vaccination.
We are only approximately about 10% of our population having one dose of the vaccine, about 4 to 5% fully vaccinated. We must be careful.
While the Holness administration has been touting the measures, people continue to flout the laws, including those in authority. TVJ News obtained this video on social media site Instagram from the birthday celebration of Kingston's Mayor Delroy Williams, with persons showing scant regard for the measures, limited to no physical distance, and the wearing of masks also limited. However, the mayor was not one of those without his mask. The Prime Minister was not making specific reference to that event, but Mr. Holness has issued this warning.
If it is that your behavior threatens the safety of the population, then I will have to act. I need not say any further on this matter.
Oshane Masters, TVJ News.
Stakeholders are this afternoon reacting to the I Love Soca event staged at the Stadium East on Wednesday. The party is the first major event since the sector reopened with relaxed COVID-19 measures on July 1. Herman Green reports.
Our news team observed the event and noted that patrons had to go through 3 sanitization checkpoints and 1 temperature check before they got into the venue. Sanitization zones were also inside the venue on the dance floor. But the appeals for persons to keep on their mask if they weren't drinking were ignored for the most part. Physical distancing also proved a challenge. So, for instance, a group of 4 people who attended the event together didn't obey the physical distancing rules. They also did not wear their mask when speaking with each other. For the most part, people who seemingly did not know each other kept 3 feet apart. However, as the night went on, those physical distancing spaces got smaller. The party also ended at 10:20 p.m. That's 20 minutes over the promoted cutoff time. Patrons and vendors who participated in the event spoke with us.
I think it's a pretty good party. After a year of not partying or anything, I think it's just what we need. So I'm grateful, I'm happy, and it's so far very good.
You get a good release.
Yeah, man, for sure, definitely.
What do you think about the restrictions though? You know, it take up your time, make you spend less time in the party?
Oh, not necessarily, because, well, for me, I'm coming from a country where I'm pretty much locked down completely, yeah? So being here, it's freedom for me. So I can't complain. It's pretty good. I think Jamaica is moving in the right direction.
Boy, boss, I can't complain. I forget God thanks, you understand? The thing nice, boss. Crowd turn out and I must spend. You understand? I'm going to forget them, give the promoter many thanks, you see me? Because here I had no lockdown and the home and you see me? First time I touch the road, I just appreciate it, you see me? Give God thanks.
We also spoke with the promoter and other stakeholders, and we'll have more on the event later in Primetime News at 7. Herman Green, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, 65 new cases of COVID-19 were confirmed on Wednesday. The country's overall case count is now 50,913. The positivity rate now stands at 7.4%. 2 deaths were reported, pushing the death toll to 1,136. 1 death is under investigation. In the meantime, 93 persons are hospitalized with the respiratory illness. 10 are critically ill. There are 6,295 active cases. And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when you return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, is reporting a spike in new COVID-19 cases in the Caribbean. PAHO's director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, wants countries to step up surveillance, especially while vaccine coverage remains low. Shamila Pullen reports.
On Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says there are already signs of a spike in COVID-19 cases since the relaxation of the measures aimed at curbing the virus. But Director of the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, says the world body too has been getting reports of other countries in the Caribbean seeing a spike in cases.
In the Caribbean, infections are also going up. Cuba reported the highest number of weekly cases since the start of the pandemic, and cases have tripled in the British Virgin Islands just weeks after reopening to cruise ships.
Dr. Etienne says when variants of concern circulate, it's even more important that countries step up surveillance, especially while vaccine coverage remains low. She also warned that the pandemic is creating serious social and economic impacts.
Balancing public health measures while reopening the economy has been a challenge for every country in the world. But countries should avoid thinking that they must make a choice between reopening the economies and protecting the health and well-being of their people. We believe that this is a false choice. We have seen time and time again that full economic activity cannot resume unless we have the virus under control. And to attempt otherwise places lives at risk and extends the uncertainty brought by the pandemic.
Dr. Etienne also said vaccines continue to be inaccessible for many Caribbean countries. She says in addition to the U.S. government's donation of nearly 12 million vaccine doses to countries in the Americas, more are on their way with PAHO's help.
1 year ago, preparations were underway to launch what would become the COVAX facility. Yet today, just 1 in 10 vaccines administered worldwide have been here in the Americas. And even with limited bilateral deals, months of COVAX deliveries, and recent donations from countries like the United States, only 1 in 7 people in Latin America and the Caribbean have been fully protected against COVID.
Shamila Pullen, TVJ News.
To other news, more details now on Tuesday's double murder in Russia, Westmoreland. The police say they are making strides in their investigations. A 14-year-old boy who the cops believe was part of the gun attack is still in custody. Sandy Williams reports.
The police say their investigation continues to determine what caused the attack on 3 people. The police say they believe the teen is among 4 persons who went to this wooden house located in Russia, Westmoreland, about 3:30 Tuesday morning and shot 3 of the occupants. 2 subsequently died. They are 19-year-old Christian Brooks and 21-year-old Anthony Godfrey. The 3rd person who was shot survived but was seriously injured. He remains in hospital. 5 children, including a 2-month-old who were in the house at the time of the attack, were not harmed. The police say the occupants were sleeping when gunmen kicked in the door and entered the house. They say the gunmen immediately fired on the occupants before escaping on foot. The parish of Westmoreland has recorded 52 murders, 8 more than the corresponding period last year. The police say to date, 22 juveniles have been arrested in connection with serious crimes committed in the parish. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
More concerns this afternoon about the construction of the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, this time in Grandspen community in St. Thomas. At a recent consultation session with the National Works Agency, the people highlighted possible flooding woes and other challenges they will face if the project continues in the way it is progressing. Sandy Williams has their story.
We pray, thanking you for the highway which you are giving to the community of St. Thomas.
Residents of Grants Pen in St. Thomas saying a thankful prayer for the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. Though not yet completed, the residents are grateful. Recently, a team from the National Works Agency conducted a consultation session with the people about the section of the highway that will run through their community, and they did not hesitate to swear their concerns.
The water system that flows up the side of the highway to Grants Pen gonna be a serious problem. With the sea level and the land level in one, there is no way this water can work. It's gonna drown Grants Pen people.
There is no reason we're going to fight against development. But when them not giving me a runoff to come back in, we only enter the highway from Morant Bay side. So if we come from Kingston, we have to enter from that side. We have to get the highway and come back in Grants Pen. I don't think it's going to work because when you look up there, it's a too big drain. If we can get a runoff to come down here, I don't think the water going to come down here, you know.
Councillor for the Land Dewey Division, in which Grants Pen falls, Edwin Marr, was also present and made this appeal.
We call on the authority to ensure that the people of Grants Pen are satisfied based on the discussions taking place this afternoon to have an entry and exit from the community. It cannot be that the people of Grants Pen is not seen as ordinary people like the other communities where we have seen major development of this nature and the people were satisfied after negotiations. There were no negotiations taking place between them and the citizens. Hence, they come this evening and is dumping information which will be made in terms of infrastructure on the people of this community. It will not be taken lightly.
What we have committed to doing is to invite our representatives of the community to come on into our office where we will go through with them the plans that we have had, the concerns that they are raising now, specifically to the Grants Pen area, are those that we want to address, and we want to address it through their representatives, their community group.
The project is expected to be completed late 2022. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Now, on an editorial note, in our story on Tuesday about the rise in COVID cases in Westmoreland, we incorrectly identified Medical Officer for Health for the parish, Dr. Marcia Graham, as Dr. Camille Lewin, CEO of the Savlamar General Hospital. We regret the error. Now for the latest in the financial world, here's Cody and Barrett with the Business Minute.
In the world of business, Executive Chairman of Mayberry Investments Limited, Christopher Berry, says the company's portfolio is seeing some recovery after the impact of losses on the stock market for various equities in its portfolio. While speaking at Mayberry's Investor Forum on Wednesday, Mr. Berry said the company's second quarter results are showing some improvement, and the aim is now to finish the year above 2019 levels.
A lot of the stocks that were hit are coming back, and some of them are actually not only coming back on the stock price side, but they're also showing great financial results. So we think we're going to have a good year this year.
Despite concerns of a lumber shortage and challenges generally associated with trading during the COVID-19 pandemic, Lumber Depot Limited has continued to trade positively. In its recently published financial statements for 2021, the company saw growth in revenues by 14.7% to $1.43 billion and more than tripled its profits with $145 million. In business internationally, China's economy is seeing recovery, but the pace is slow. On Thursday, China's National Bureau of Statistics revealed that its GDP grew 7.9% in the April to June quarter. That was less than half the rate seen in the previous quarter and missed economists' forecast of 8.1% growth. China led a global recovery after the ruling Communist Party declared COVID-19 under control last March and reopened most industries. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And we now head to a quick break. When we come back, Renardo Brown will have your midday sports.
Welcome back. It's now time for your midday sports. I'm Renata Brown. Now, the Reggae Boys camp at the CONCACAF Gold Cup has been hit by a positive COVID-19 test. Though communication from the team's press officer did not provide a name, a TVJ Sports source close to the team revealed that forward Bobby Reid is the player to have returned the positive test. The 28-year-old returned a positive test on Wednesday and is now in isolation, according to head of the Jamaican delegation, Gregory Daly. Reid scored Jamaica's second goal in their 2-0 victory over Suriname on Monday. This means Reid will be out of contention to play in Jamaica's second game of the tournament against Guadeloupe on Friday in Orlando. Reid has scored 2 goals in 7 appearances for the Reggae Boys. More football, as Mount Pleasant Academy have sacked head coach Paul Teagat Davis. In a release, the St. Anne club said they are grateful for the 4 years Davis gave to the club and now they are in another chapter of their growth. Technical Director Walter Wally Downs will take over for Davis with immediate effect. Davis's last game in charge of the club was on Saturday, where Mount Pleasant fell 2-0 to Harbourview. Mount Pleasant Academy are 7th in the table on 4 points. Now to cricket, as West Indies suffered a narrow 4-run defeat to Australia thanks to a superb final over from Mitchell Starc in the 4th T20 International at the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia on Wednesday. Electing to bat, Australia posted a competitive 189 for 6. Mitchell Marsh top scored with 75, while captain Aaron Finch made 53. The two also shared in a 114-run second-wicket partnership. Hayden Walsh was the pick of the Windies bowlers with 3 for 27. Now, in pursuit of victory, the West Indies put up a spirited attempt and, needing 11 runs of the final over, came up short at 185 for 6. Lender Simmons top scored with 72, while Evan Lewis made 31, Fabian Allen 29, and fellow Jamaican Andre Russell 24 not out. Man of the match, Marsh took 3 for 24 and Adam Zampa 2 for 20. The 5th and final match takes place on Friday, also at the same venue. The West Indies are set to play 13 games in the 2021-23 World Test Championship cycle, which is set to bowl off in August with India's 5-test series in England. Among the changes for the second edition of the championships, points will be awarded on a match-by-match basis as opposed to the series-by-series basis of the 2019-2021 cycle, with the team's rankings determined by percentage of points won. The 9 teams in the WTC will play an equal number of 6 series, 3 home and 3 away, but an unequal number of tests. The numbers rank from 22 tests for England to 12 for Bangladesh. Now, each test will carry a total of 12 points, with a win fetching all 12 points, a tie 6 points, and a draw 4 points. The Windies are set to play Pakistan, England, and Bangladesh at home, with 2 matches against the subcontinent teams and 3 against England. The Caribbean side are also set to have 2 games each against South Africa, Sri Lanka, and Australia away from home. New Zealand are the holders of the title after beating India in the final in England, with the game played over 6 days due to rain. And finally, Chris Middleton scored 40 points as the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Phoenix Suns 109-103 to level the best-of-7 NBA Finals series at 2 games apiece. Middleton scored 10 consecutive points in the final quarter as the Bucks rallied from a 9-point deficit. Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 26 points and made a crucial block on Suns center DeAndre Ayton to keep the Bucks ahead with 1 minute 15 seconds left. Suns shooting guard Devin Booker scored 42 points, including 18 in the third quarter, but it wasn't enough to stop the Bucks from sealing a crucial win. The teams meet in the 5th game of the series on Sunday. And that's it for your Midday Sports. I'm Renata Brown. Giovanni, it's back to you.
Just a quick question on the new World Test Championships. Yes. It seems a bit uneven. So yes, they'll be playing the same number of...
same number of series, but a different number of tests. Unequal number of tests. So right. England, they have... The top teams play 5-test series. So you know the Ashes, you can't go 3 tests. But teams like the West Indies, they play 3 tests. So what they've done is that it's not based on how many wins, but based on the percentage of points. So England, in their 22 games, if they win 11 of those, that's 50%. But the West Indies, if they have 12 games, if they win 6, that's also 50%.
Okay, okay. Sounds a little bit better than I thought initially. Well, that's the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, the sports, and the production teams, have a good afternoon.